Now that we've installed all the components that we're going to need for PHP development, specifically a web server, PHP, MySQL, a web browser, and a text editor, we're ready to get started with our first steps in writing PHP. The first thing we want to do is make sure that our web server is up and running successfully, and you'll want to turn it on if it's not already. We talked about how to do that during the installation chapter, but we can test it by launching a web browser. I'm going to launch Firefox, and we can go to http://localhost. Now, if you're on a Windows machine, this will tell the web server to bring up your personal web files. If you're on a Mac, though, you're going to need to also specify your user directory, which is going to be with a tilde and then your username after it. Mine is just Kevin. So by typing in localhost/Kevin, we're going to get the same thing that the Windows users are getting just by typing localhost. And this, on the Mac, you'll see it goes ahead and translates localhost into something different. Don't let that worry you. Either one will work the same. They're completely synonymous. But when I say localhost, that's what I'm talking about on the Mac. Now, we see we have a personal website here. Yours probably looks different if you're on a Windows machine. But we know that our web server is up and running, and it's serving files successfully. It's pulling files off of our hard drive, processing them, and sending them to our web browser. If you're not seeing this page, then you need to make sure that your web server is running and troubleshoot the problems with it. So where do these files live? I'm going to option click on the desktop to hide Firefox, and I'm going to go to where those files live on my Mac. And we can do that by opening up our hard drive, clicking on our user folder, and going inside Sites. Now, if you're on a Windows machine, you remember when we installed WAMP, we put it on the C drive inside the WAMP directory inside www, and that's going to be your sites directory. In both cases, regardless of which setup you have, or whether you've specified something different, the key thing here is to locate the place where Apache is going to be pulling files to serve to your web browser. If you're a Mac user, you'll probably have a folder here called PHP MyAdmin because we installed PHP MyAdmin into our sites directory. If you're a Windows user, that was installed somewhere else for you. Don't let it throw you. We'll work with PHP MyAdmin much later. But for now, we want to create another folder that we can start to put some of these beginning files into. And I'm going to do that by choosing File, New Folder from the File menu, and then type here PHP_sandbox. And that's going to be the name of the folder where we're going to do these introductory lessons. Now, when I'm developing, I actually like to have a sandbox type structure off to the side, separate from my project, where I can try things out. And that way, if I'm wondering if something's going to work, I can just drag files over to the sandbox or create new ones, try something out and do some experimenting